All right, everybody, welcome to another rendition of Tying Flies and Telling Lies. This is Brandon Wells. I am here in Salem, Virginia, doing a live tie on Zoom. I have a few members of the Healing Waters Roanoke New River Valley chapter program, and I'll be admitting people to the Zoom as we go. So please, if you're in the mood to tie tonight, please do so. We'll be tying a dirty, hairy worm, which got its start in the saltwater fly world. And naturally, the trout guys said, hey, if we shrink that, will it work for the trout as well? And it turns out it does. So I'm going to get some current events out of the way, and then I will start the fly. The first current event I want to talk about is a fly tying competition. Where a local natural history museum is holding a competition for local species. And the fly that's chosen will be displayed at the museum. And we can get you lots of information on that if you're interested. Our recent post on the Healing Waters site has the flyer that the museum would be willing to give you more information. So if you're into tying flies that are accurate to the species, that's something that you could get your name forever on the walls of history, as they'll display your fly and they'll display your name next to the actual species. So it could be a really neat activity if you're into the hyper realistic flies. I've had a couple more people join, one of which is Cindy, looking like she ran to get here. Good to see you, Cindy. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I've got everybody muted right now, Cindy, just for ease of communication. But if you do want to share, you're welcome to share at some point. Again, we're tying the dirty, hairy worm. Ingredients, if you receive them from Kathy, are inclusive of a dub brush. So that's some very leggy dubbing, spun on some real light gauge wire, a little bit of chenille for the tail of our worm, a selection of weight, either bead chain eyes or a tungsten bead for the hook, and then of course a hook based on what species you're targeting. If you're looking for trout, obviously, typically smaller is better. But this goes all the way up to a saltwater fly on like a size 2 monstrosity. So, Kathy, it looks like you sent me maybe a 12 with a wide gape barbless hook. I'll get the macro lens on here in a second. But I'm going to transfer it over to zooming in on the hook, and we'll get started. I'm going to mute so you don't hear me shuffling about. All right, there we go. I have I got a jig hook on here with a brown bead, which is one of the options you can choose to do when tying this fly. It's going to be a pretty quick fly, so my next rendition will be a down eye size 12 hook with the bead chain, just to kind of give us that variety. I've got orange thread on here, and I'm going to start spinning up a nice thread base. Never fished this fly. Heard good things about it. Seen underwater videos of it. It does some wild stuff underwater, which I guess is what you want. So if you want to catch up to me now, thread your bead, start your thread base back to the bend. We will tie on this little wormy tail. I'm going to send that thread right back to the bend and let it hang there. And I'm going to grab a slice of the little squirmy worm, sand wand, kind of chenille. It's fabric. It's not rubber. It's not a true squirmy wormy, but that same type of style. And you want a tail on here that is pretty obnoxious. All the videos I saw had a tail that was 2 to 3 times the length of the shank of the hook. So we'll err on the side of bigger is better. And I will do a 3 times shank measurement here. And then I will tie off the end of that right at the bend. And work that thread back to your tie-in point so that you've got that tail just kind of hanging out there. Any excess can now be snipped. There we go. And you're welcome to use the chat box in the bottom there. I'll type a message to get things started. If you do have something to share, it can be typed in the chat while I'm tying, and I will get back to any comments that are put in the chat as we go here. And just so everybody knows, I am recording this, so behave yourselves. Rosie. All right, so next for us is this dubbing brush, it's called. So this is custom spun by our very own Kyle Chanitz. And what he basically does is he feeds dubbing onto a spinning type of contraption and makes a custom brush. What's cool is it kind of turns into a chenille, and you can wrap it as you would any type of chenille, and it really can give you a very custom profile to your fly. He supplied me with 3 different brushes. I kind of like this this darker kind of stonefly color, so I'm going to tie that in here towards the halfway down the hook or so. And I'm going to work my thread up to the eye. And I'm going to tie in a nice little security system for myself with my whip finisher while I wrap this dubbing brush forward. All right, and let's just let that hang. So now you're going to take your dubbing brush and begin to wrap forward. But I think what we should do is pull as much of our dubbing back, right, to give you that kind of swept back look. And it's not going to cooperate perfectly, but it is going to give us kind of that laying down effect that we want from our dubbing. So we're working up the body here. We're pulling our threads back as best we can. And as we work forward, we're going to start to really kind of bunch up our dubbing at the front here. We want a nice, thick front end here of this fly. And what's nice also is the dubbing brush is also weighted. So there's a little bit of weight in there to help you with getting this fly down. I will then lock off my last bit of dubbing brush there. Take a few wraps without hitting my camera, which is way too close. And trim off my excess dubbing brush. If you have scissors that are considered better than others, definitely don't go cutting your wire with those. You want to keep those for the finer slices. I will throw a whip finish on here, and quite literally, that's the end of this fly. The videos I saw had this fly fished kind of up and down, so allowing it to kind of shoot up to the surface and then drop. It gives a lot of motion. It gives a lot of attraction to the fish, and it was neat to watch. It was a very interestingly behaved fly, especially the bigger ones, because you can really tie in a bunch of flash and rubber legs that are super long, and you get this very interesting motion under the water. So that is it's a simple fly. I like it. I'm looking forward to fishing it. It's got some good weight once you get that dubbing brush on there and the tungsten bead on the front, and it's a little bit sloppy. It's super simple, but I really have grown to like it the more I learn about it. If you're the type who wants to throw on some solar res or some other type of epoxy, now's the time to do that. So I'm gonna invert mine, throw a little dot right there on the thread wraps without messing with my dubbing too much. And then I will hit it with the UV. And it looks like some of the thread, I don't know if it's visible, but some of the dubbing is actually UV reactive, which is great. They say fish are super sensitive to those UV sensitive colors. So thanks, Kyle, wherever you are. All right, so that's iteration 1. I will unmute here, everyone. And if y'all have anything to add, you are welcome to chime in now. It looks like we've settled at the round number of 6 live. Cindy, something to say?
I want to say hi to Becky.
Hi, everybody.
There we go. Yes.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. I have a fly.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Rosie.
Becky. Here's my fly I just tied.
Look at
I'm
that.
making do. I don't have the same materials that y'all have, but
It looks fantastic to me.
That's cool.
it might catch something. Maybe.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed. All right, so I'm going to start fly number 2 with the bead chain, and we will head into that version now. So instead of a bead on the front, I'm going to take my bead chain, 2 of them, and I'm going to take my orange thread here, start it. And love it or hate it, bead chain is valuable in the world of small eyes for trout flies. So what I have found is laying it towards me and then letting it rotate as I put wraps on. Bam. And then the figure 8 wraps, which are great for securing this type of fly tie material to the shank. I left about a hook eye gap between the eye and the bead chain to allow me to finish the fly. And I have put in lots of wraps to secure everything down. That final technique you're seeing is going under the bead chain and is a cool way to keep it from rotating on you. That's good looking. All right. We're going to work our thread back after I crush the barb, which is required. Easy there, camera. There you go, buddy. All right. Got my barb crushers. And we'll wrap that thread back to the bend to once again throw on our little squirmy wormy tail, San Juan worm tail. And there's our nice little thread base there. Let's see, I will do maybe something a little lighter here for my tail. So here's my tail. I'm going to do my 3 times the shank. 1, 2, 3. And I will capture that chenille there and work my thread back a bit, just to the bend. There's that tail hanging off. Trim your excess. And we're gonna pick another dubbing brush. Looks like this time it's gonna be an olive drab, but I truly believe you could use just about any type of estaz or kind of leggy chenille that gives the impression of lots of appendages. So don't hesitate to use something that's in your fly box already that you might use for an estaz, yellow estaz, or something along those lines. All right, I'm gonna tie in my dubbing brush here, which appears to be an olive color. Compliments of that amazing Kathy. And I'll run my thread back forward and throw in a whip finish before I get myself in trouble. Then I need one of those thread holders, I guess, huh? Wink, Kathy. Wink, wink. All right, here we go. We're gonna start wrapping forward with our dubbing brush, trying to sweep back any super long legs to give us that profile that we want. Not super important, but not a bad idea. And then as we get closer to the head, we're going to start really doubling down with our wraps to give us that kind of fat looking upper body. That's all the rage right now. And then I'm not gonna bring this dubbing brush forward of the eyes only because it's pretty bulky and I'd be afraid I'd crowd the eye. So I'm just going to take my final wraps here, trim off my excess, and then I'll run the thread forward and actually finish the fly right behind the eye. Right there. Looks like I managed to capture a few slices of my dubbing there. That's okay. Security system, if you have it, thin Solarez is best at this point. Let it kind of penetrate the threads without getting in your hook eye. And hit it with the UV. All right. That is our Dirty Harry rendition for trout. Now again, bigger on this fly. Apparently, I mean, you can hit into red drum, you can hit into tarpon with this fly, allegedly tied in a 2 or 1/0 hook. So I think it'd be neat to try it. We don't really get into that here, but we could maybe someday. Kathy, tell me now if I've missed anything or I'm otherwise missing a current event, and we'll talk about it. There you go.
I think we're good. Were you gonna tie a knot? I think I forgot to mention that though. Yeah.
I'm happy to. I'm happy to. Who wants to see a knot?
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
You said you were gonna do a nail knot. Are you prepared for that?
Nope, absolutely not.
Kathy, go ahead, tie one like they taught me.
No,
It's smart.
Rosie, you do it. You can
I
do
don't
it.
have my stuff. I don't have my stuff.
Oh, the nail knot. Great knot. Not ready to tie it tonight.
Okay.
I would have to brush up with my nail knot technique, I think. I've only used it twice on the water, and it worked, but I think it was dumb luck. And so I think I'll do the old improved clinch, Kathy, and
Okay.
we'll call that what it is. So let me get my fake hook in the vise here. One moment.
So Brandon, I have a question.
Hit me.
So sometimes other people show in the main screen. Are you switching that, or is it the people that talk?
The only time I think it switches is if those people speak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think that's just a Zoom functionality to kind of give attention to the people that are, contributing to the conversation.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's able to be edited, honestly. So I don't think I can turn off the spotlight. I think they call it the spotlight, the speaker. I can look into it.
Oh, no big deal.
Okay. I also noticed on the recording that even people that were participating but didn't have their video on, their names didn't show up.
Bill Boehner's name showed up.
Well, there he is. But on the recording is what I thought on the recording, people that didn't turn their video on didn't show up. I'd have to go back and look at it, but that was kind of how I came away from the last recording. Was you could see us participating, but like, for example, in this case, Bill, his name wouldn't be displayed in the recording.
So on the right of the screen down at the bottom, it says to and everyone, and then there's an arrow. If you click that arrow, it shows everybody that's here.
Perfect.
What arrow? Where?
That's the chat box. In the chat box there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It shows everybody that's here. I don't know if that shows up on the saved video.
I'm not sure either.
I don't see that.
I have one that says participants, and it says, okay, now it says everybody that's on there. Cindy, Bill, Kathy, Becky, Brandon, Rosie. Okay.
Perfect. Dream team.
Two of them don't have their they didn't unmute.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am curious though what Cindy's activity level was just before this meeting. I am definitely wondering because I mean it almost
Okay,
like a marathon.
I just got back from a run and don't have my video on because I'm in Connecticut doing some work at my mom's house for her. And I don't unfortunately have my fly tying material.
Well, we're still glad you're here.
So, but when I get back home, I definitely want to go back and try tying these, and it helps me to see first.
Absolutely. This is a good one. This one's going to go in my repertoire. I think it looks very tempting.
I really like it. Yeah, I really
simple.
like it.
All right. So improved clinch is my go-to for tip it to fly. 90% of the time, I bet it's improved clinch. The other 10% would be that no slip loop knot that I tied for the nymphs to kind of bounce around on the end of a loop. But the improved clinch is always what is my terminal knot. You run your tag end through your hook eye here, which for me is currently a eye bolt. And with your tag end, you're going to just take it around your running end 5 times. 5 times around. And we'll say that's 5 wraps. Then with your tag end, you're going to run on down here to the hook eye, and you're going to run it through the only place where it's possible, really. There's a little loop right there. You're going to run it right through there. Now that's the regular clinch. You could tighten that down and be done. But in our striving for perfection, we're going to run that tag end back through the original loop we formed at the top. And when you cinch that down with tippet, which in this case, this is not, you will get a very strong, and it'll slide right down to the eye of your hook. And you will have a great little knot for terminal connections. I highly recommend it. It's highly strong. Oh, there's Alan. Hey, Alan. I'll tie another for Alan. Fantastic. So that's the improved clinch. Welcome, Alan. Thank you for coming. We'll wait while you get tied up. There it goes. Alan's working on audio. I think he's through now. Alan, welcome. So there it is.
All right.
Alan, we finished tying the fly, but if you're willing to stick around, I'll throw another in the vise.
Yeah, I can stick around for a little bit.
Absolutely. Let's do it. All right, let's see here. We were tying some knots, so let me transition back out of knot tying here. Did you get the packet of goods from Kathy, Alan?
I did.
Fantastic. All right, I'll show you one of our renditions here. Get the macro lens on. Look at that fellow right there.
Awesome.
So it's got a little tail there, got some bead chain eyes, and just a whole bunch of dubbing, and you're done. So we'll throw one in the vise here. I'm pretty sure Kathy gave me another hook. She's so generous.
Brandon,
Ma'am,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Becky or Kathy or Rosie? This is Becky.
Yes, what can I do for you, Becky?
Well, I was wondering, I have a whole lot of Kraken. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it.
Kraken dubbing.
Yeah, I've
And
heard good
I
things.
was wondering if that would be really good for the body if you don't have the brush.
Okay,
it has
perfect.
lots of little pieces of rubber stuck in it.
Yep.
Like this, Becky?
No, it's not. You have to dub it yourself. You really have to use a dubbing loop, but it's real buggy. It's real leggy and has little pieces of rubber in it.
Yeah.
And makes it really a neat action. I didn't, but it's not weighted.
I have some of that. It's got, you can see the darker pieces of rubber in there, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I just was curious.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We haven't touched the dubbing loop technique yet, but it's probably something worth exploring.
Do that in the future, please.
Yes, ma'am, will do. All right. So, Alan, if you're with me, I have started my thread there. And I'm going to probably start with the bead chain eyes. Now, one of the flies we tied tonight had the head, like a little weighted bead there situation. But
Gotcha.
most of the flies that I saw in my travels had bead chain or larger, had the big barbell eyes for the real big saltwater stuff. So I'm going to throw some bead chain on here and go from there. Hopefully you got some bead chain in your kit, and it might need snipping. The best strategy for bead chain I have found is, excuse me, lay it parallel to the shank, and then it'll spin itself if you just do 2 loose wraps. It's really pretty neat. So just parallel to the shank with one hand, as you can see there, and then 2 loose wraps, and as you let go, it just seats itself pretty happily. Otherwise, you're going to fight it. And then you can kind of lock it down with subsequent wraps and tweak it as needed. But bead chain is pretty good for those eye imitations, I should say. And there's all kinds of fancy wraps, the figure 8. You can go under the barbell, above, around, through. But just get it locked on there. I've seen people throw a little bit of resin on at this point, or maybe some super glue. But I feel like some solid wraps there, it's not going anywhere.
Right on.
From there, we're going to work all the way back to the bend there, Alan.
Okay.
Sounds like you might have a visitor.
No, he just barks a lot. My kids were out feeding my horses, so
Nice.
he thinks somebody's here, barks.
Right. Let's see here. How'd those bead chains end up sitting down? Pretty well, or did they throw a fit?
No, I'm used to doing those. So
All right, nice.
I got the hang of them.
Length of this kind of San Juan worm stuff can go pretty much as you'd like. This fly isn't really imitating anything in particular. It's just tempting. So kind of err on the side of the more, the better.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and do 4 hook shank lengths just to really shake it up a bit. 2, 3, 4. And that'll just give it a ton of motion underwater and kind of just hit those instincts of the fish to strike at something that looks kind of wormish. Get a few good wraps there, and then you can trim off your excess. And you can always shorten it on the water if you notice that you're getting short strikes or something. Just knock a couple centimeters off the tail and maybe bring the fish a little closer to the hook.
Awesome.
There we go. Kyle Chanett supplied our dubbing brushes this evening, so I'm gonna take one of my olive colored versions there that he created, and I'm gonna tie in that right at the base, at my tie-in point for the tail, basically. And I'm going to run that back just to the bend, and then I'm going to run my thread all the way forward again.
Okay.
I typically throw a whip finish right here for insurance purposes, as I tend to get carried away with my dubbing brushes, and this will help keep everything from unraveling. And then it's just real sparse wraps with the dubbing brush up to the head. And then once you get to the head, kind of lay it on pretty thick so that we get that profile of kind of a tapered body, bigger in the front, smaller in the back. And another great thing about dubbing brushes, they can be picked out pretty easily. So if you did do that Velcro on the dubbing needle trick, this is a time when once the dubbing brush is locked in and you're happy with it, you can follow up with some pretty aggressive picking of it with your brush and really expose some fibers. All right, I'm gonna throw a whip on here real quick. And we have fly number 3 in about 15 minutes. Get my dubbing brush here and give it a little coercion to be a little more buggy. And that is about all she wrote.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's all there is to it. It'll probably ride this way in the water just because of all that weight on the bottom of the fly. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Haven't fished it yet, but looking forward to trying it. And again, it got its start in salt water, and we shrank it for our intents and purposes. So otherwise, if no one else has anything for the good of the group, I will stop the recording.
I got a question for you for your
Go for it.
What do you call it? Hold on, I can't think of the name of it. The thing that your thread goes on.
The bobbin.
Yeah, your bobbin. I
Yeah.
bought one of those new bobbins that we were talking about. Yeah,
Like
that
this?
right there.
Yeah.
It came with those plastic pieces.
Yeah.
Do you need them?
They're just they kind of act as bushings. I think it's a good idea. I put them right between.
So do you use the two of them or just the one of them?
I do one on each side of the thread.
All right, and save the other two, I guess.
Oh, they came with 4?
Yeah, mine came with 4.
Yeah, I'd throw 2 on and put 2 somewhere where you have less chance of losing them. I think I only have 1 left. They just kind of get misplaced, but I would say they're worth having.
All right, sweet.
Kathy, anything else worth talking about?
Yeah, who went fishing?
Who went fishing?
Rosie went fishing.
Not me. Rosie, what do you got? Let's see if we can get Rosie to come on through.
There it is. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I went fishing Green Hill Park last couple days and caught quite a few rainbows in there. Is it Bill Boehner's Shaky Beely? Is he the one that likes? Yeah. I wonder if Bill he's on. He can't hear though, can he?
We can ask him if he'd like to speak.
Well, they've been killing that Shaky Beely.
That's a good fly.
Shaky
Beely.
It's
Shaky. Am I saying the name right?
Yeah, it's a Shaky Beely.
Yeah, they've been slamming it on the swing.
Yeah, it's an October caddis.
Yeah, I love that thing. I've tied up, I think, 6 more last night. I've lost a few of them. I love it. So good fly, Bill.
all right.
Good.
Brandon to tie that for us sometime.
Roger that.
Nice flies tonight, Brandon. I really like those.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, it'd be good at some point to learn how to do the brushes, how to make those. I bought some back in February to tie for saltwater, and they're pretty expensive if you buy them.
Yes.
And if you make them, you can custom make them, I guess, to look how you want them to look. So
yeah, I think there's some hardware to spin the wire, but other than that, it's a pretty small investment. It's a good idea. Anybody have pros or cons of Zoom right now? Zoom is better, Zoom is worse, Zoom is the same.
I like it, but we didn't have very many tonight.
Yeah, we got to get more.
Yeah, and a lot of our veteran participants didn't come in. I'm so happy that Alan is here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I made it. Woo-hoo.
But it was easy for you, Alan? It was kind of a one click and off you went?
Yeah, I like Zoom because my kids use it, so I know, I know how to use it.
Yeah.
So they can teach you how, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, I want to continue with it. I think it gives us better chances to share. You know, you can hold up stuff. You see the faces. So my vote is to continue with this platform.
I think it'll grow as we do more. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brandon, did you go fishing this past weekend?
No, ma'am. I was on my annual mancation, I like to call it. I just kind of escaped to the mountains of West Virginia, 200 acres, no power, no water. And
that sounds like fun.
It was great.
A mental health.
This coming weekend, I'll be fighting Rosie on Green Hill Park. I can guarantee you that.
Hunting season's going on, so it's kind of a hard decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
Hunting season?
Yeah, it's a hard decision. Which one do I do, fishing or hunting?
Oh, I know my preference. I caught some stripers this weekend.
Nice.
Some stripers on at Kerr Lake, Bugs Island Lake, and believe it or not, Larry caught a pickerel. We've never seen a pickerel there, but caught a pickerel.
On fly?
No.
Okay.
No.
What did you catch your striper on, Kathy?
The what I always use, it's called the tequila. It's got root beer Estes as the body. It's got yellow marabou and then some flash, and then the some yellow, lots of yellow legs and a cone. And those stripers love that fly.
What size fly was that?
It was probably an 8 or a 10.
Okay, nice. Congrats.
Yeah.
You keep them and eat them?
No, no.
That's a funny question.
All right. I do love a rockfish here and there. All right. Well, thank y'all. I'm going to sign off here.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandon.
Ma'am.
I tell you what, instead of having the drawing tonight, since Alan is our only veteran participant, we'll send him the flash.
Works for me.
Some flash.
Some crystal flash. Dress it up.
Yep. He wins.
Huh.
Congrats.
I know. Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Thank y'all.
Good job, Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Take care.
See you in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.